Let's turn that mic on and try that again. There we go. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back here to the launch pad. You're here for our live launch coverage of the Sirius SXM-8 satellite. Not SpaceX's return to flight, but sort of Sirius XM's. Their Sirius SXM-7 had a successful launch, but actually failed after deployment. So I'm sure Sirius XM is excited to finally have another $225 million satellite on the way up, and hoping that it will actually work this time. As we're getting started, we're just waiting for SpaceX to start up their feed here. Let us know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, as always, you can drop that in the chat using the hashtag AskTLP, or you can tag us in that as well. Now make sure that we see that question and be able to answer it for you either before we start or during the coast phase of it. You can also use those super chats and super stickers as a way to support the channel, or check out Patreon. That's another amazing way to support. I believe this is the 12th Sirius XM satellite, Golden. I'll double check it. I believe this is the third of their new level generation of satellites, but good to see you here. We see Ben, we've got Dragon here as well. We've got Chris in Melbourne. I know in the Discord we've got Marcus in New Jersey. Brant's down in Florida is going to be taking some photos of the launch, so we're hoping for some clear skies for him to see that. If you are able to see photos or take photos or videos of launches, make sure you can tweet those at us or send them to us in Discord, and we'd love to share out your work as we can do that. But just waiting for SpaceX to start up their stream here. Liftoff is scheduled in about 14 minutes, so probably the next minute or so we should see them go live and give us an update on the booster and on the payload. It's not a booster. Tonight they're going to be flying on booster 1061. This is going to be, and we're going to focus camera. There we go. This is going to be the third flight for this booster. It's the 12th flight for the Sirius XM Corporation. It was a 44-day turnaround for tonight's booster for it, and it's the 51st orbital launch of any space company this year. They're going to be launching from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station down in Florida on the Space Coast. Just read the instructions. The autonomous drone ship is 642 kilometers off the coast. And tonight's satellite is going to be going into a subsynchronous geostationary transfer orbit of 237 kilometers by 19,794 kilometers. So a very different orbit there. It weighs 5,400 kilograms. As always, they will be attempting to recover the fairings as well as the booster. Good to see you there, Vince. Yeah, they really are picking it up. This is the 18th launch for SpaceX so far this year, so they are definitely picking it up. We're going to listen in here once they get that live view of the pad in probably about 15 seconds or so. There we go.
Good evening. You're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 12:26 a.m. Eastern Time liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral on Sunday, June 6th. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, where it's still Saturday evening. Welcome to our webcast for SXM-8, our second launch for Sirius XM. Today also marks SpaceX's 18th launch of 2021, and we're only halfway through the year and already have launched more than we did in 2019. If you're wondering if today's customer to the music provider, your guess would be correct. The satellite being launched today will enable SiriusXM's ability to provide users with satellite-powered audio radio services for at least the next 15 years. We'll share a few more details about today in California, where it's still Saturday evening. Welcome to our webcast for SXM-8, our second launch for SiriusXM. Today also marks SpaceX's 18th launch of 2021, and we're only halfway through the year and already have launched more than we did in 2019. If you're wondering if today's customer to the music provider, your guess would be correct. The satellite being launched today will enable SiriusXM's ability to provide users with satellite-powered audio radio services for at least the next 15 years. We'll share a few more details about today's payload a bit later in the webcast. And as many of you likely know, across the world, June is as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Here in the United States, Pride Month commemorates the 1969 Stonewall riots, widely recognized as a catalyst for the gay rights movement globally, and recognizes the impact LGBTQ plus people have had in the world. Here at SpaceX, we have encouraged everyone to use this month and every month as a springboard to celebrate, learn, discuss, and reflect upon the ways the STEM, aerospace, and aviation fields have also benefited and advanced from the work of the LGBTQ plus community. And we encourage you to do the same. Before we take a closer look at the rocket on your screen, here's a quick breakdown of today's mission profile. Once Falcon 9 lifts off the ground in about 10 minutes from now, our first and second stages will separate at about 2.5 minutes into flight. The first stage will return back to Earth, and we will be attempting to recover it on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, for a third time. While that's happening, our second stage will continue on its journey. In order to get the satellite to its intended orbit, we will be igniting our Merlin vacuum engine twice today. Finally, the deployment of the Sirius XM satellite will occur at around T+31 minutes. On your screen is a live view of Falcon 9, our two-stage bipropellant vehicle. The Falcon 9 vehicle is about 70 meters or 229 feet tall, just slightly taller than the wingspan of a 747 aircraft. The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is the first stage, which accelerates the vehicle along with the payload through the Earth's atmosphere out to space with the help of 9 Merlin engines. The first stage is also the part of the vehicle that we land back on Earth to be reflown over and over again. And like many of our missions this year, today's first stage is flying again. This is the third flight for this specific booster. Prior to today's mission, it supported 2 NASA Crew missions, Crew 1 in November of last year and Crew 2 in April of this year. Today, we will be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. You can see a live view from Just Read the Instructions on your screen. At the top of the vehicle, on top of the first stage, is the black carbon fiber inner stage, and right above that is the Falcon 9 second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. Now, once the first and second stages separate at about 2.5 minutes into the mission, the MVAC engine will ignite and carry the SXM-8 satellite into an elliptical orbit around Earth. Now, at the very top of the rocket is a composite structure, which we call the Payload Fairing. And that's what you see right there on your screen. Today's fairing will protect the SXM-8 satellite from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need this protection, so we will jettison the fairing as the second stage to orbit. Today, the fairing halves protecting the SXM-8 satellite are taking flight for the first time, and we'll be recovering them with our recovery vessels, Go Searcher and Go Navigator. Falcon 9 has been loading propellants since T-35 minutes, and we use a rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, which stands for Rocket Propellant 1, as our fuel, and super-chilled liquid oxygen, or LOX, as our oxidizer to power Falcon 9. Currently, RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages, and LOX will continue to be topped off right until the final minutes of the countdown. If for some reason we do not launch today, we have a backup launch opportunity available tomorrow at the same time. As of now, we're still in good standing for an on-time liftoff. The latest weather forecast is 70% favorable, and weather conditions look good for the booster recovery as well. Now with that, the vehicle, satellite, weather, and range are all good to go for Falcon 9's 12:26 a.m. liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40. If you're just tuning in, as we mentioned earlier, for today's mission, we're launching a high-powered digital audio radio satellite for Sirius XM known as SXM-8. We previously launched the SXM-7 satellite for Sirius XM last December. To learn more specific details about today's satellite, let's check out this video from the satellite's manufacturer, Maxar.
And just because we don't know what audio they're going to have in there because they're Sirius XM, we're going to cut in here, but I'll leave it full screen so you guys can at least see what's on the graphics there, but seeing lots of people joining in. Again, just a reminder, if you're just joining us, welcome back here to the launch pad. Here at the pad, we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space and STEM. And this is our live launch coverage of Sirius XM-8. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Make sure you're following us over on Twitter at @TLPN_official to never miss space news as it happens, and make sure to subscribe on our YouTube. If you are watching over on our Facebook, we love that you're there. I'd invite you to come over onto YouTube. We always go live on Facebook and YouTube for launches, but we do a lot of other live stream coverage, news events, and other broadcasts over on YouTube. So come on over. You've probably got a couple hundred subscriptions already, but what's one more? It's free, and hit that subscribe button. We see Italy in the chat. We've got Touisville, Port St. John's. We've got New Jersey. I'm up in Canada. We've got people all over the world watching, and great to see you here. So let's listen back in.
The final stages of the countdown. Now, we're currently waiting for the transporter erector, the TE, to retract. That'll happen in about a minute from now, or just under a minute from now. The TE is the white painted structure that's positioned right next to the vehicle. On your screen, it's to the left of Falcon 9. As we prepare to transition into the final stages of the countdown, the TE clamps will open, and then the transporter erector will begin to retract away from the rocket slightly. And as the Falcon 9 lifts off at T0, hydraulics will pull the TE farther away, and that clears the way for Falcon 9's liftoff. Sounds like we got a call out to start opening up those clamps. Now, the TE provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing.
Strong back retract sequence has started.
And there you can see on your screen those clamps that I mentioned earlier are opening up. Once those are fully open, then the TE can start to retract. And it looks very, very slight, but that transporter erector is now starting to recline just slightly there, as I mentioned. And that looks like it completes the strong back retract. Now, at this time, the first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And as the super chilled liquid oxygen, which is our propellant oxidizer, turns into gas as it meets the warmer, humid ambient air during loading, it forms those white clouds that you see around Falcon 9.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that LOX load is complete on the first stage. Now, for your awareness, second stage will complete LOX loading at T-minus 2 minutes. And at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. And what that means is the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers will have taken over the launch countdown. Just inside T-minus 2 seconds, we will light the Merlin M1D engines to get set for liftoff. With a few minutes left in the countdown, the SXM-8 payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. The surrounding ground, water, and airspace received its green for launch from the range. So, with about 2 minutes left, getting into the final stages of the countdown. LOX loading should be complete here in a few seconds.
From the views on the pad, it actually looks like a beautiful, clear day.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There's definitely clouds in the
There's
area.
that call out. Now, both first and second stage fully loaded with LOX. So now that LOX loading is complete, we will clear out the LOX line on the transporter erector, and you can kind of see some of that venting happening. As I mentioned, those white clouds from the LOX hitting the warmer ambient air and turning into gas. The next event coming up is Falcon 9, going into startup just around T-minus 1 minute.
Flight computers in startup.
And there's that call out. Next call out will be from the launch director.
Falcon 9, Sirius XM-8, LD is go for launch.
And awesome call out. Sounds like we are go for an on-time liftoff today.
T-minus 30 seconds.
And with all systems go for launch, let's listen in to the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes the SXM-8 satellite into orbit.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Here we go. 10, 9,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Stage 1 chamber pressures are nominal.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off with the SXM-8 satellite from Space Launch Complex 40. Now the next event coming up here is Max Q, and that is maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's the largest structural load that the vehicle will see on ascent. So we do power down the engines just slightly in preparation. And then
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
After Max Q, we will throttle them back up.
There's 10 kilometers.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And there's that call.
15K.
We just passed through Max Q. So in about a couple of minutes, we will have 3 events happening within seconds of each other. That'll be main engine cutoff, or what we call MECO, stage separation, and SES-1, or second engine start 1. Now, main engine cutoff is where we shut down all 9 of those M1D engines on that first stage, and that slows the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation.
Started.
Stage separation is where the first stage separates from the second stage, and the first stage will begin to make its way back home to Earth for landing, and stage 2 will continue on its journey with the third event, SES-1. Now that's where the MVAC engine on the second stage lights up and propels the second stage along with the SXM-8 satellite to orbit. And we're just under about 20 seconds away from those 3 events. Again, that is MECO, stage separation, and SES-1.
Coming up on 50K. There we go.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
And there you could see all 3 of those events, MECO and stage separation. On your left-hand screen is a view of first stage. On your right-hand screen, you could see that MVAC engine on the second stage glowing bright red. You also got a little glimpse of the green T-TEB ignition for SES-1. Now we're coming up on fairing deploy here, just under 10 seconds away.
Vehicle's on a nominal trajectory.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Nice view in the fairing tonight of the separation.
And there we got a nice live visual of the fairing halves deploying from second stage. As a reminder, this was the first flight for both fairing halves, and we will be attempting to recover these new fairing halves with the help of our recovery vessel's Go Navigator. as second stage head towards its targeted orbit, stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first of those 2 burns is called the entry burn, and that's where we light up 3 of the 9 M1D engines. Now this helps to slow re-entering back into the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And then after the entry burn will be the second and final burn, and that is the landing burn. Now this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to touch down on our drone ship. Again, today we will be attempting to land on Just Read the Instructions. If you're just catching up with us, we had a successful launch of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's 40 launch pad. And now you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9's Stage 2 as it delivers the Light 2 orbit. Stage 1 is currently cruising back to our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, in the Atlantic Ocean. And as a reminder, today's mission is for Sirius XM, carrying the SXM-8 satellite to its targeted orbit.
Falcon 9 continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
And SXM-8 is the 12th satellite to be launched for Sirius XM's service. It transmits 73 decibel watts at peak power, which is 20 million watts of power. Now, deploying the unfurlable reflector is like opening a large umbrella in space. And a very large umbrella, it's about 9 meters or 29 feet, which is taller than the average 2-story house. Now, with the solar arrays deployed, the length of the satellite is about the same length as a 737 airplane. Now, we're coming up on entry burn on the first stage, just under 10 seconds away or so.
We will be live through deployment, which is estimated at T plus 31 minutes and 42 seconds. And there's that entry burn.
And there you heard the call out, and on your left-hand screen, you could see that the entry burn has begun on the first stage. Seconds or so. And again, it helps to slow the vehicle down as it's entering back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And again, there's that call out, and you can see on your left-hand screen that the entry burn has. On your right-hand screen, stage 2 is still looking nominal. And we're just about a minute away from the landing burn on the first stage. And right before the landing burn will be second engine cutoff 1 or SECO 1. And that's where we shut down that MVAC engine that you're looking at on your screen there. A reminder, we do have 2 burns of this MVAC engine for today's mission, and that helps get
Second stage is in terminal guidance.
That helps get the SXM-8 satellite to its final orbit.
Stage 1 transonic.
Again, a couple events happening back to back here. SECO 1 coming up here shortly.
Stage 2 flight termination system has safed.
Followed by the landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn startup.
Sounds like the landing burn has begun on first stage.
Nice view of the landing pad there, close up.
Sounds like we also got a good orbit on the second stage.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And we have touchdown of Falcon 9. Falcon 9 has
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
just landed on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. Today marks the 87th overall successful recovery of an orbital class rocket, as well as SpaceX's 125th successful mission to date. Now, while that was all happening, we did have a successful SECO-1, and a call out for good orbit. So now that second stage is going to coast in this orbit or so. So we'll see you back here at T plus 25 minutes for the second stage relay.
So there we go. We are now in the coast phase. Not near as long as what we're used to with a Starlink. We're expecting second stage restart at T plus about 26 minutes, and then separation at about T plus 31. So we, of course, will be staying live for that the entire time to make sure we can see that deployment. And then hopefully we will get confirmation from SiriusXM in the next hours or days that they were able to communicate with the satellite well, as this is their first satellite deployment since their failed SiriusXM-7 launch for it. But keep those questions coming in. We will be answering those while we wait for your questions to be coming in, or even comments of the launch. A little bit of info from our launch history database. This is the 21st launch that has occurred on June 6th, as this is being tracked as a June 6th launch for its UTC time. It's the first Falcon 9 that has launched on this day, with this wide variation of Cosmos, Proton, Soyuz. There's a Thor in there, a couple Titans, lots of different ones there. So if you want to see a little bit of the behind the scenes and early access into our launch database, history database, make sure to join the Discord. We have a kind of behind the scenes view that you can access on that goes into all the launches, the payloads, the launch sites, the landing sites, booster tracking, everything there from the start of the space program all the way up to today. We're still filling in the last few months of it, but excited to soon hopefully get that out to all of you in some sort of app or website platform, so you can know what launched on your birthday or your anniversary, or just on the day that you're looking at it. So exciting things there. Question from Golden: do you think the next space race is a moon base or the first man on Mars? I think it's both, and I think it's already happening. I think it's very much a race to more just living and operating in space than necessarily a specific base or structure or things like that. The Artemis Accords, I think, are one of those things that are establishing that point. We are working on a video, I know it's a couple days late, going into the entire Artemis Accords, kind of as your go-to guide for it. So watch out for that coming next week on the channel. But that's going to go through everything that these countries are agreeing to, signing on to, and what we hope many more countries in the next months and years will sign on to as well. Because Artemis Accords, I've heard many people refer to it, I've referred to it, it's kind of like our Star Trek Federation first generation. It's the first thing we're doing as a humanity of Earth, getting ready for exploration of our Earth orbit, the sun's orbit, exploration to asteroids, tons of different things. So lots of things happening there. Andrew, thanks for the information. Absolutely. I wonder who's going to make the next reusable rocket. There's a number going. I think Rocket Lab has a pretty good success rate of building and deploying a rocket. They're working on their Neutron right now. And then there's a few others in there, and we'll just have to see who actually gets out onto the pad and launches one. That's always the challenge. Yeah. Oh, Discord. And the YouTube chat. Allie, yes, rain coming down, not stopping anytime soon, says the weatherman. Yeah, it's pretty wet down there. And it was pretty cloudy from what we were hearing from people that were around the different views of Florida, that it's pretty clouded in. But yeah, Tawana, I'm probably saying that wrong. Are they building on Mars yet? Not yet. We need Starship to do that. They could send stuff, I guess, in like small payloads. But once they get Starship, that's when you're going to see a lot more building. I think the very first buildings are just going to be Starships that are there, and then they'll start deploying their solar fields and stuff to have the equipment they need to survive, but also leave. And then we will start to see more permanent structures being established from either other starships or other facilities. So there's lots of different companies. I was looking at one yesterday that it is a inflatable dome that if you're able to just spray water or moisture on it, the dome has a layer that turns into concrete for it, but it's able to be like really rolled up and small because it's inflatable. So that'll definitely maybe be something that we see for the moon or for Mars or something, depending on how easily accessible we can get water to that. Because I don't think we want to be sending full Starship water tankers to the planets. That doesn't seem like a good idea. But we'll have to do that to start. Any info of the status of SN16? Not yet. SN16 is just hanging out. It's ready to go. They don't know what they're doing with it. I think they're going full speed ahead, trying to get the orbital platform ready and I don't think they want to take the time to move SN16 out, which they could do while they're still working, but then do all the testing where they have to clear the pad so many times. I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they want to necessarily now, they clear the pad for hours generally before a launch. They can do it faster, but generally for a launch, it's hours. Static fires, it might be an hour. That's a lot of time to move all your crew out to stop. You also then would have to have everything at a place you can stop. You can't just say, oh, it's 1:15, everybody out. You can't do that when you've got like flying cranes and rebar. So I think that might be what we're running into, is they're trying to make sure the orbital stuff is ready for July, and SN16 orbital could be completely done and ready, and they launch S16 early July before SN20. SN20 is being built. There's not going to be big changes that are made to it that they learn from SN16. Things they learn from SN16 are stuff that's going to go into the later, maybe SN22s or 5s and stuff. So first time I said your name, I got it right. Perfect. I think I said Tawana. So we'll try to remember that. How soon will we be able to get in our cars and go to the space station and take rides to certain planets? Rides to certain planets, if everything goes well, 10, 15 years. If you have the money. Jumping in your own car and flying, I hate to say it, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think maybe it's you go to your airport and you can choose, do you want to fly to New York or LA or Paris or the ISS or another space station. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where our cars are the rocket ships. Now, that doesn't mean we won't get to a place where maybe you own a car on the moon. But I'm not sure that's our lifetime. But we'll see how we go. Well, maybe it's a rental car on the moon, a rental Cybertruck on the moon, something like that. Yeah, Cybertrucks on Mars. There we go. Yeah. From what I saw, the first Super Heavy booster is getting ready for testing. Yeah, they're building it. BN3 is almost fully stacked. Almost all the sections have been located for it, and most of them have been welded together. So it's definitely coming together there, and then they'll be waiting for the delivery of all the Raptors that they need to be able to put those on. Elon's confirmed they are going for 28 Raptors on this one, and then they will go up to 32 later in the booster series for testing, and then into the final actual Starship operational units that are going to be aiming at 32 boosters with a lift weight ratio, I believe it is, of 1.5. So they're working on that. The Discord invite has expired. Oh no, we need a new one. Let us get a new one. You already got a new one? We've already got a new one. That's how quick the TLP FAA is. It's fantastic. Right, something like, yeah, Cybertrucks always. When is the launch? Elvis, we've just had the launch. We are now 18 minutes after. What we'll do is we will take a quick rewind here and do a quick replay of just the launch part, not the entire thing, but the launch itself was really nice through the night sky there. So let's pull this up here, and if I can switch this fast enough,
3,
there we go.
2,
this is a replay.
1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
are nominal.
So this was a replay of about 18 minutes ago where Falcon 9 booster 1061-3 took to the skies from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, launching Sirius XM's SXM-8 satellite. It's quite a large satellite, takes up the entire fairing there. It's the only thing on board, and it is successfully about to finalize its orbit with a second burn, and then deployment's expected in about 10 minutes from now. But keep the questions coming. We'll be answering those as we continue. We'll stay live a little bit after. And a couple more launches, I think, coming up later this... Should have a number more coming up later this month. The Chinese have a couple more. We've got a Minotaur launch. This is a rare one, a Minotaur launch, coming up in about 9 days. And then we've got a GPS-3 launch in just over 11 and a half days. Some Soyuz in there. We got an Atlas 5 later. Lots of things coming up. So make sure you have subscribed to the channel. We will, once we get confirmed launch windows that are looking good, we will schedule the streams, and then you can set those reminders to go off. But we try not to schedule them when it's like, oh, we're going to launch between the 8th and the 12th, because then it's just confusing. But yeah, there's at least 10 or 11 more scheduled up until the end of the month at this point. But SpaceX always seems to throw in some other ones in there, as they've got quite a few boosters now in progress. We're working on getting our infographics back. We're also going to be doing a booster infographic, a cargo dragon, a crew dragon infographic, so you can keep track of all the boosters and everything happening there. Also, we are working on that new series where we're taking deep dives into aerospace companies. So if there's anything you've wanted to know about maybe other aerospace companies that you don't know about, let us know in the chat about that, or you can tweet us or let us know in Discord. You can also let us know about aerospace companies maybe you've heard about, but you want to know more about them, and we can look at including those in our new series on the channel on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, head on over to YouTube and hit subscribe. We do a lot more videos on other content, space news, and everything like that, exclusively on our YouTube channel. And if you want to help support the channel, there's always the Patreon. Everything goes right back into the channel to make sure this studio is possible. We can get our crews down into the field to get to you guys the best possible coverage, and hopefully get our own cameras down at Starbase in the near future as well. Well, we're going to jump back here to the live view, as we should be coming up on the second little burn here, SES-2. Coming up in about 2 minutes or so here. And this will be just finalizing the orbit. And then a few minutes later, we should see deployment. But right now, the satellite is out, exposed to space, and is just waiting for those final few minutes before it is separated and let off on its own. It's in a very unique orbit that it's going into. It's going into a sub-synchronous geostationary transfer orbit, or a GTO, of 237 kilometers by 19,794 kilometers. So yeah, very interesting launch here. Oh, Discord just, Marcus, one of our TLP team people, just pointed out that on June 17th, we have the, I'm probably going to say it wrong, Shenzhou 12 mission. It's a Long March 2F mission, and this is a crewed Chinese mission. This is going to be their first mission in quite a number of years, but also their first mission to their new space station. So they've got the first couple modules up that were on that first launch. They've sent up now a cargo as well, and now they are ready to send some crew. So we'll wait to hear if they'll do a live coverage of that, and if they do, we will try to bring that to you as well for it, at least to bring our own English commentary over it of what we think is going on during the launch and timelines. But hopefully we'll get some more details on that in the next few days. So this is live now. We are watching the live telemetry kind of tracking of the second stage of Falcon 9. And very soon you can see on that line, there's the blue and then the white, and then the white and the blue separation. So the white will be the satellite, and then the blue is actually going to be the second stage, which will continue on its thing and then do a deorbit burn, generally just outside of Australia, and do a splashdown. Or sometimes it'll go back around and do it off of South America. Do we have technology that cars can go as fast as rockets to go through a tunnel of like 6 to 7 states like a plane, but on ground through a tunnel like Back to the Future? Ooh. I don't believe... Yeah, the closest would be something with like Hyperloop. There's a few other companies working on Hyperloop technology. The Boring Company would probably be the one that's the most advanced in that. They're getting ready to open up their tunnel in Las Vegas and do for their first public parts there and do like high-speed travel around the strip.
Back to the live webcast of SpaceX's
I'll continue on that after this.
SXM-8 mission. We had an on-time liftoff at 12.
Backchill's underway.
We had an on-time liftoff at 12:26 a.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Stage 1 returned back to Earth and touched down on a drone ship. Just read the instructions, and this was the third flight and landing for this specific booster. Our second stage is still looking good on a nominal trajectory after its first burn, and now it's getting ready for SES-2 in a few seconds here. SES-2 is second engine start 2. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we do have 2 burns for this second stage in order to get the SXM-8 satellite to its final orbit. And we're just about 20 seconds away from SES-2. That burn will last just about 35 seconds or so long and will be followed by MECO-2, or second engine cutoff 2.
There's that ignition.
Back ignition.
And there you can visually see on your screen that second stage ending back up. Again, this is the second of 2 burns. It will last just about 30 or so seconds long.
Much longer burn than we normally see with like a Starlink mission. And this is because of that different orbit it's going into.
MECO-2, or second engine cutoff 2. And we did get a good orbit. So we now have another coast phase. We have another coast phase before we can deploy the SXM-8 satellite from Falcon 9's second stage. So we'll see you back here around T minus 31 minutes. 3T plus 31 minutes.
There we go. So I've got about 3-4 minutes there until deployment. But just to finish up on that one of the tunnels, Boring Company's probably the closest. The biggest thing right now with their tunnel in Las Vegas is it's only Teslas. It's not an open drive-in, speed up, kind of like an Autobahn idea, which I think is what some people maybe like you're thinking. It's definitely something that could happen in the future. I think cars would need some advancements, and you would definitely, I think, need the automation for it to be able to work successfully. I was actually talking about this with a couple people yesterday if all cars were smart enough to know where each other are, something like, there's the Find My network that uses each other to talk to each other without, sharing private info. If cars could do that, you could really eliminate the needs of, traffic lights at intersections, because everyone would know where they are and you get that perfect transfer. I think we're still a bit away from that technology-wise, but maybe in our lifetime it's something we could see. I mean, look how fast space has picked up. For 9 years, we almost, had nothing, and now we're cranking out crew missions like crazy, and SpaceX is doing, 3 to 5 launches a month. So I don't think we can ever say never now, or not in our lifetime, but we'll have to wait and see there. But definitely something to see. How much bigger is the second stage engine than the first stage? Well, it's the vacuum engine, so it's quite a bit larger. The stage itself is only about, I think, a fifth fifth or sixth of the size of the actual booster for it. Yeah, tank cam was on the screen behind her. Sometimes they'll push the wrong button accidentally, and it'll be on screen. But it's always nice when they put them full screen and we can spy over their shoulder and see some of the cameras behind them. Ooh, I missed a message from Dragon. Do you watch anime? I mean, I have seen anime. I wouldn't say I've watched it. I also just don't watch like cartoon stuff. Like I'll watch like some animation, but not like anime. Like Spider-Man, was it what? Spider-Man Spider-Verse? Spoilers, there was animated parts. Not fully my thing. The impossible is possible, like the movie Jingle Jangle. Okay. And this Discord says the only thing impossible is impossibility itself. That's fair. And if we got Elon in the equation, then even that might go out of the equation. But want to give a shout out to Amber Starcat for joining the Discord. If you guys want to join the Discord, the link will be in the chat, and we'll give you a shout out for joining. But we've got a great community that's on there almost 24/7. We've got people all over the world in it. So we invite you to join it. We've got a huge public free side of it. But if you support the channel through Patreon, we do have some behind the scenes. We've got early access, discounts for the TLP shop, which you guys can check out as well. All that goes to supporting the channel and gets shipped out. Everything's made to order for you guys to make sure it's the best quality and new, and we're always adding new stuff to the shop. And if you use promo code LAUNCHDAY, you get 10% off everything in the shop. So definitely take a look at that. But if you join Patreon, you get an additional discount. And if depending on the tier, there's some tiers that you get shirts, and there's a bomber jacket that we customize at a level for you as part of the TLP crew. So lots of things to check out. But let's listen back in here as we await deployment of Sirius XM-7
6
or
a.m.
8,
Eastern Time.
not 7.
From there, we had a successful stage separation, recovered this first stage for the third time on our drone ship, just read the instructions, and have had 2 successful second stage MVAC engine startups. Now we are coming up on the deployment of SXM-8, Sirius XM's next generation satellite. Let's listen in for the call out for Payload Deploy coming up here in a few seconds.
Payload separation confirmed.
And there you can see on your screen the SXM-8 satellite drifting away from second stage, confirming payload deploy. What an awesome view of the satellite drifting away.
Gives you a good look at how big this satellite is. It is a very large
With a
satellite.
successful separation of the SXM-8 satellite from Falcon 9's second stage, that will bring our webcast coverage to a close. To the Range and Federal Aviation Administration, thank you for supporting today's mission. And of course, to all of our viewers, thank you for supporting our mission by tuning in to today's webcast. We'll see you next time.
And that is going to do it for that launch. A nice quick one there, about 40 minutes from live stream of the countdown through launch, landing, and deployment of Sirius XM-8. Hopefully tomorrow or the next day, we will hear confirmation from them that they were able to start communications with the satellite as it makes its way into its final orbiting and positioning to be activated. But yeah, if we see any last minute questions, we will answer those, and then we'll probably wrap it up here for tonight. If you want to continue the conversation, jump over to the Discord. We are live in our live comms channel. Might play some Kerbal a little bit later in there as well. So definitely jump on into that. But wait just a minute or two. If we see any more questions, we will schedule our next launch live stream. We've got a Launcher 1 coming up in about just under 7 days on June 13th, then a Minotaur launch on June 15th, and then June 17th. So this week's pretty quiet, but the week after that is really going to pick up, because then on the 17th, on the 17th, we've got a double launch. What's the window like? 10 days, 18 hours, 11 days. Okay, so pretty much at the farthest ends possible, but pretty close there. So we'll keep an eye on that, but we might have a double launch day, not a double launch stream, because they're pretty much at the other ends of the days. But at least 4 or 5 launches more for sure this month before we get to the end of the month, but a number of others that will be happening that we might be able to get coverage of depending on the launch provider. But with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. As always, if you have more questions, tweet us over at Twitter at TLPN_official, or connect with us on Discord, or just comment on any of the YouTube videos. I monitor those with our team, and we will always try to get some sort of a response in a timely manner to you guys. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you for joining us here on the pad, where we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space. This was our live launch coverage of Sirius XM with the SXM-8 satellite. This is Zach with the Launchpad.